One of the things that I want to do is not just critique the problems, but offer solutions. And one of the things I'm going to be doing more is talking to pastors that I think are amazing communicators, but also love people and know how to lead well and communicate God's truth and don't water anything down, are solid in doctrine and solid in their living, which leads us to a new segment I'm going to try to incorporate every day. I'm going to be having different guests, and today's guest is a good friend of mine. His name is Pastor Tony Lee. He pastors one of the biggest young adults ministries in the country, and I had the privilege of getting him in the studio to talk a little bit about why this stuff is happening with regards to Gen Z and where things seem to be going with new atheism and all the craziness that's been going on. So I love introducing you guys to new voices. And this is actually a voice that doesn't have social media. He is just a local church pastor. He's going to be planting a church in Riverside in a couple years. And so I wanted to introduce him to you guys. And I thought this conversation was really awesome that we just had here in person.
It helped me understand, like from your perspective, the psychology of the 18 to 25-year-old today.
Yeah.
Because from one standpoint, you would argue that this has been a generation that has been marketed to a lot.
Yep.
They've been sold a lot, and they don't remember a world pre iPhone. That doesn't exist to them. Whereas like me and you were old enough to like we remember a day before Instagram, a day before social media. Like where you weren't
go outside, touch grass.
Go outside, touch grass. You know, I don't know how it was for you. It was like
friends,
come home, before the street lights are on, right?
Yep.
This generation doesn't know that.
Yeah.
That world pre, I would say 2008, 2007.
Yep.
Right. And so they're growing up in a very different world. And they've been marketed to a lot. They've been sold a bill of goods in many ways. They've lived through COVID, and many of them didn't get to experience the formidable years.
COVID, man.
Through COVID. Like, tell me about the psychology about young people.
Yeah. I think as it relates to Christianity, the interesting moment that we're in right now is I think people have been sold a bill of goods that hasn't worked. Okay, so, back when I was going to college, I went to the University of Minnesota, a really liberal school in a major liberal university city, and being a Christian was like either laughable or offensive. Like that was the nature of being a Christian out there. And I think that's changing in part because the last couple decades of people being fed postmodern truth theory, the sexual revolution, the gender revolution, all the different types of anecdotes of how to live a great life that culture presents. I think most college students have tried variations of that, found it unfulfilling practically, but also philosophically confusing. Like I think it's actually hard to understand what is culture saying I should do. There's 15,000 different voices, and they're saying my voice might be the biggest voice, and so I have to make it up. I have to decide what I want to be. And I think most people are actually just saying, hey, I want to live a life that's fulfilling and joyful with people that I love. I need clarity on what's true and what's not true. So I think the noise of the world and culture and secularism, the gospel and clear Bible teaching, I think is cutting right through that. And that's what I think young people want.
You mentioned the sexual revolution.
Yep.
Sexual revolution came at a time during the Jesus revolution. You got sexual revolution, and you got Jesus revolution, which many would argue is the last great awakening in America. You're coming out of Vietnam War. You got the hippie movement, free love. The interesting part about that is, again, similar, unprecedented times, crazy stuff happening, multiple assassinations, right? A lot of parallels to what is happening today. But when this is why, and I'd love to get your take on this. That sexual revolution, that generation was substantially more sexually promiscuous than Gen Z, physically.
Yeah.
Gen Z seems way more inundated with sexuality and sexual perversion culturally, but they're actually less sexually active in terms of the number of people they're sleeping with.
Yes.
What do you think is going on there with the sex stuff?
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, when I was coming up as a Christian, we were telling people, be careful about dating. Don't date too young. Date when you're ready to get married. Don't have sex with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Obviously, all wise things to say.
Right.
What has shifted now is we're realizing people just aren't dating. People don't know how to have conversations with the opposite sex. They're not in friend groups where they're hitting on girls. Like our generation was, guys were obsessed with girls. Now I'm looking at college students and I'm thinking, man, actually, you should just start dating so you can learn how to date. Like, yes, if you find your wife in that process, great. And I hope you do. Now, the caveat is good boundaries, healthy boundaries, honor Jesus the whole way through. But I just think most people aren't pressed to date anymore because they're so nervous about being shut down. They don't know how to do it. They're not in context where they're meeting other people. They're more with their phones than they are with people. We're embodied people. They're not with people. So, you know, a huge push for us this year, I know this is kind of funny, is pushing people to date. I think one of the unique values of college ministry, young adult ministry, is giving people environments where it is okay to ask a girl out on a date. If she says no, that's great. And if someone asks you on a date, don't be weird about it. Like just have a healthy environment of that. We're pushing people into greater and greater relationship with other embodied people because the intimacy that they're primarily experiencing is on their phone. And so I think one of the greatest gospel impacts the church is going to have over the next 20 years is as technology continues to improve, as AI becomes a partner and a companion more than a tool to use, as people are more inundated with your things on digital devices, I think the embodied nature of real people coming together surrounding one vision is going to be our greatest gospel tool. Real people in a real room actually worshiping together in real community. It will be one of the last places I think people will find that. So back to answer your question, I think the sexual revolution at that time, you know, the Jesus revolution time, sexual promiscuity, they were around people all the time. And so it was easy to enter into a sexual relationship in an unhealthy way. Now, people just aren't around people anymore. And so the call for them is actually get into, we joke, co-ed open invite group hangs, like get into house parties where you can actually get to know other people. And obviously, you know, there's caveats to all of that. But that general push is what we're seeing work best.
It's so funny because we were all like,
it's so different, right?
Don't do the co-ed thing.
Yes.
Be careful.
Just with the boys.
Someone's going to hook up. We don't want now. It's like, hey, we need to get these folks to mingle.
Yes.
Are they like socially stunted?
I think so. I think COVID was a big factor.
Yeah.
I think you spend a year not talking to people, that messes you up. I think you start coping with your social anxiety by just not doing it, or spending time on your phone, or getting away from other people. I think that the culture of trust issues, not believing the best of others, high levels of sensitivity, anxiety, is creating environments where people just aren't able to connect at a deep level. So I think the soft skills of Gen Z has been impacted by COVID a lot. So yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful, man. But I'm hopeful that I think young adult ministries, college ministries can play a really important role in helping people meet each other, get in relationships, and honestly date to get married. Like we need young people to date, get married, and have kids. I mean, you've talked about that a lot. Like that's core to civilization at large, but also for the health of the church, you know.
Now, here is a sneak peek of the entire conversation, which you could see early on Patreon and get access to all of our other conversations for as little as a cup of coffee a month. Help us continue making conversations like this, continue building what we're building here at Bless God Studios.
I think the new atheism experiment, I think really exploded.
Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Daniel Dennett, the late Christopher Hitchens, they're all known as the new atheists, anti-God and anti-religion believers.
They made a lot of promises and delivered on virtually none of them.
When I was growing up, new atheism was at its peak. What did the new atheists believe? Where did they go wrong? And where do we go from here?
To what extent, when you were in that phase, were you taking your cues from the new atheists? Stylistically, massively, as childish, and it was time to move on.
You just had anger all throughout my childhood. He would hit us. There was physical abuse as part of our story. And then one day out of nowhere, you stop being angry. I'd never seen something like that as a kid, you know? It wasn't even something I could really understand. Man, AI is coming. It's going to destroy the church. Everything's online. Real preaching, interpersonal. Soon they're going to have an AI pastor.
Either 40 or 45% of Gen Z is open to Jesus.
What do you see that you're like, oh man, there's a generation of people who are interested in Jesus without being Christians?
Ruslan